Hi everyone, Jane here, and I am here with the lovely Ali Hodgson. Welcome, Ali.
Hello.
Hello. We are talking about freedom this month in our Facebook group, and Ali is going to share some of her story of and her journey, which is really, really fascinating, on the topic of freedom. So I'm going to introduce you to her so you find out a little bit more about who she is and what she does. And we're going to dive into feeling free. So Ali is a modern day Ishaya monk. Is that how you say it? Ishaya?
Yep, that's perfect.
Yeah. Which simply means that she has committed her life to serving consciousness and humanity alongside an order of non-denominational monks known as the Ishayas. And that word is derived from the Sanskrit word that means for consciousness. And this manifests in a number of ways, from teaching meditation and helping people to change the relationships they have with their minds, bodies, and worlds, to using her background as an award-winning illustrator, designer, and storyteller to serve projects that endeavour to raise awareness in many ways. Ali has also worked through the challenges of long-term chronic illness, which gives her a unique perspective on working with people in similar situations. Her passion for peace and freedom is currently leading her to work internationally on numerous exciting projects and events. That sounds amazing. So welcome.
Thank you. And thank you for letting me come here to talk about freedom. It's such a fantastic topic that I think affects everyone. So thank you.
Yeah, so true. It has a lot of different perspectives to it. So I'd love to know, when you think of freedom, what comes up for you? What are the images that pop up in your mind? What do you think of and what do you feel when you think about freedom?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, and I think just being asked it makes me realize how my relationship with freedom has changed so much. I think if you'd asked me that question maybe 6 or 7 years ago, I would have given a very different answer. I think I would have talked about images of amazing beaches and mountains and travels and airports and living a successful, creative, empowered life and meeting amazing people. And all of these things are really, really amazing and wonderful, but at that time in my life I was really searching for all of these things on the outside and sort of really scratching the bottom of the barrel, trying to create all these things in my life, but not experiencing it. And when I think about my relationship to freedom now, I realize that I've kind of spun it around, and now freedom to me is about prioritizing that on the inside. And when I prioritize it on the inside, it's when all the magic starts to happen on the outside. And just before we were talking before this interview, and I was talking about my life now, and I just realized suddenly I am living all of those things, airports and amazing places and amazing people. And that's kind of amazing how, to me that really clearly shows how prioritizing these things on the inside can affect the outside, and doing it the right way around.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that was an image for you anyway, with the airports and the travel, but you didn't start with that. You started with feeling it on the inside, and then that part came anyway.
Yeah. And if I had to really give a visual image for what freedom was, I love the symbol for infinity. It's like an 8 that's on its side. And that's just such a kind of magical symbol to me, because it's about infinity, and the mind can't understand infinity. And I believe that deep down all of us are kind of infinite beings. We have infinite potential in the world, and something goes wrong along the way, we get identified with these limitations and limiting thoughts and things like that. But ultimately that's what we are. And for me, being more and more in alignment with that infinite nature and that freedom within me, like I say, creates it on the outside as well, which is really cool.
Yeah, I love that symbol as well. It's a good one to remember in association with freedom and infinite possibility. And so I'd love to hear more about your story, because earlier in the group, for those of you who are in the Language of the Feminine Facebook group, you posted a video which is called More at Peace with Illness, in which you shared your personal story with health. So can you share, first of all, a little bit about your story there for those who haven't seen that video on your journey with health that you shared, in the video.
Yeah, it's been a long journey for me. I went to art school, and I loved that creative environment and playing with things creatively, and I had an amazing time. But towards the end of doing that, my health started to deteriorate quite rapidly. And I basically found myself bedbound and very seriously ill for about a decade after I graduated, so throughout the whole of my 20s. And for me, it was just a really terrifying experience, Something that I like to ask people when I'm teaching meditation is when you were a child, did any of you imagine doing something amazing? Did any of you feel like you were here to do something important and fantastic in the world? And it's amazing how many hands go up, because when we reconnect with, exactly. It's amazing, because, as a child, even if it's just being an astronaut or a fireman, there's that sense again of infinite potential and infinite, just amazing possibilities in the world. And for me, I'd kind of always been aware of that, but to suddenly find myself ill and unable to connect with the world, it felt like all of that had been taken away. And it was a very scary time. I had no idea what was going on. The doctors didn't really know what was happening with my body. All I knew was that my world was becoming smaller and smaller, and my happiness was decreasing ultimately. I struggled a lot, physically with my body and feeling trapped and like a prisoner in my own body, but also a prisoner to my mind as well. And, my mind constantly giving me challenging thoughts about not being worthy of being healthy and why am I here, and that kind of thing. I struggled with depression and post-traumatic stress as well. And it was like all of these things building up. And I tried a lot of different things, both conventional medicine and alternative stuff, working with psychology, working with my mind, looking at spiritual traditions, just really seeking and trying to find some sort of answers for what was going on. And ultimately, because I wanted to be well again. And that's a really interesting thing, because I believe that if I had health, then I would be free. Then I would have the opportunities to travel. Then I would have the opportunities to do the things that I really wanted to do and was passionate about, to follow the creativity. And what was interesting about that is that I was always, as a result, delaying my peace, delaying my happiness, because it was something that was in the future and not right here and right now. I had explored meditation and practices like that before. I came to a practice called Ascension Meditation, which is what I teach now. And it was then that things started to change for me. Things flipped on their head, and I realized that the only place that really exists is right here and now. And it's in the right here and now that we can experience freedom, we can experience happiness, we can experience peace. And that was revelationary for me, because I'd put so much energy into fighting my body and trying to get better and trying to get healthy, in the hope that would bring me the peace and the freedom. Again, it was just like flipping it on its head. Suddenly I was here, I was accepting what was happening, I was listening more to my body, to my intuition, more in alignment with what was actually going on. And that, as I let go of that attachment or desire to get better almost, I did get better. That's the amazing thing. It was like I stopped trying, and suddenly it all came rushing in to meet me. And that was kind of a really magical revelation for me. And again, we were talking earlier about prioritizing things on the inside first. And it was prioritizing that freedom and that experience of joy and happiness right now in this moment here that changed it on the outside. And again, a question that I love to ask people when I'm teaching meditation is what is your highest desire? Such a simple question. And people say things like freedom and peace and happiness, but how many of us really truly deeply prioritize that in our day-to-day lives?
That's a great question. Because that question, the answer can change in any given moment. So I suppose you could ask, what's your deepest desire now? And it might be something simple like having a cup of tea or just stepping outside. But looking at it from the perspective of a deeper desire to feel something, like to feel more free, to feel more joy. But yeah, as you say, you know, that's not generally the focus for most people. And what an amazing journey that you've been on, to that internal journey in relationship with your body and your mind, and looking to the future for when I'm this, then I can have that. Where, you know, everything was right there for you, just to change the perspective and to accept and allow what was happening. Yeah, that's a great. It's always an amazing thing to keep hearing from people. That story of, you know, being in the moment and accepting what's happening now is the key to the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
And where you want to go in the future. Yeah. Well, I was gonna ask a bit more about that. How your journey impacted your sense of freedom. You've shared a bit about that. And just checking in with the next part. Yeah. Was there a greater sense of clarity or acceptance, or what else kind of came from that journey?
Yeah. Well, you know, for me, I'm probably biased towards meditation, because that's been my particular way of kind of coming into alignment with myself and the present moment. And it's kind of like you know, again, coming back to that infinity symbol, that inner experience of infinite potential that we all have within us, and stepping into alignment with that has kind of been the foundation for everything else. You know, and it's interesting. You know, I love being around newborn babies, for example, because they're just here. You know, there's no worry about what's happening tomorrow, or whether they can pay their gas bill, or, you know, these kinds of things. There's something really magical and something that people really recognize about the fact that they're just here, and it's kind of, you want to be around that. And I think as we grow up, you know, we start to pick up these beliefs and these conditionings and these patterns. You know, maybe we're crying and our mothers can't feed us straight away, so suddenly this little seed of doubt that maybe we're not quite worthy of the love that we thought we were starts to creep in. And, you know, for me, I had a little brother arrive, so suddenly I'm you know, second best, and that kind of thing. And we pick up these beliefs. We go to school, and you know, we think that we're not good at maths, and our teacher reinforces that, and it goes on and on and on. And, you know, again, as we pick up bigger cultural beliefs, I think, as well. For example, as women, you know, follow your emotions, don't follow your emotions, rock the boat, don't rock the boat, you know, all these mixed messages. And we become very, I think, identified with these beliefs or decisions that we've made about the world, which is completely understandable. It's kind of the journey of being human, I think. But for me, learning to step away from that, learning to experience a clearer just experience of right now, experience of that, you know, that infinite freedom that we have within us, and that kind of changes everything. And it's interesting how, you know, I did a lot of exploration into therapy and psychology and things like that, and what I realized was that, you know, there's nothing wrong with wanting to fix a particular belief in order to have a better life, you know, a particular pattern that you want to clear in order to live differently. And I think that's fantastic. But what I realize is, if you flip that paradigm on its head, and, you know, you start to just live from that infinite place, then the beliefs and the patterns naturally start to just dissolve anyway. So it was kind of, that's been another big realization, is flipping that on its head and exploring it from a different way. And again, like we were talking before about the difference between being and doing.
Right. You know? I was just gonna say that.
And we can just be here, and life suddenly becomes easier, you know. And for me, I've got a real achiever personality. I want to do things in the world and be someone, and it was always about doing, and what's the next step of doing. And again, when I learned to just let go of that and to rest back in this infinite stillness, which is always here, then the doing just took care of itself. The next opportunity would present. That flow of life that we all like to talk about and experience can actually be, consciously stepped into. And how wonderful is that? And I feel, again, coming back to purpose and people recognizing that they're here to do something important. It's when we step into that flow that the purpose and the things that we're supposed to be doing in life just present, and it really can be effortless, which is fantastic.
And so can you give anyone who's watching kind of an indication or a tip on stepping into that flow? Because we were talking before this interview a little bit about both of our years ahead and the exploration and the adventure, but also a lot of the unknown that we're stepping into and living, and the magic that unfolds from that. So stepping into the flow, a tip maybe to how to actually do that, and then trust that place of trust that when you step into that knowing that the next part is going to become visible, and the next step becomes clear after that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the biggest thing has been working with my relationship to my mind. Apparently, they've recorded this, and we have something like 90 to 120,000 thoughts a day, which is it's just crazy, right? And if you think about it, most of those thoughts aren't actually that useful. They're telling us that we did something wrong in the past and that we could have done better there, or telling us that we need to make sure we do this really good in the future, and all of these things. None of them are actually, no thought actually, I would say, is about being right here, right now, because in order to think, you're leaving the moment. So for me, playing with my relationship with my mind has been crucial. It's not about not thinking. It's not about pushing away all those thoughts, because ultimately what we resist persists, right? But it's changing that relationship with those thoughts, and it's changing those relationships with those thoughts that say that I can't do something, or I shouldn't do something, or dealing with other people's thoughts that I shouldn't do something, or I should be doing this at this time in my life and I'm not, and that kind of thing. And again, even thoughts about comparison. We're talking about being a woman of a certain age, and we're supposed to be doing certain things with our life, and it's so easy to start comparing yourself to other people, and ultimately that creates separation causes suffering. It's not fun, right? But if you can play with those thoughts and begin to let them go and see them as thoughts, take that little half step back and recognize it is just a thought, then suddenly you set yourself free from it. And to me, that's what freedom is. It's about, not being a prisoner to my mind, not being a prisoner to thoughts, conditioning, beliefs, all of these things. And, sometimes these thoughts can be helpful, but we're addicted to them. They become our reality, they become our identity, rather than, like I was talking about, the baby is just identified with being here now, and just living that experience, no matter what it is, whether it's hungry, whether it's needing to sleep, whether it's being happy. The baby doesn't really mind, it's just living its life. So yeah, I guess if I was to give someone advice on that, it's play with that relationship with your mind. The more you can shine the light of awareness and consciousness on that, the easier things become, the easier it becomes to step into the flow of life, because you are just being it. And the rest takes care of itself.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, thank you. What stuck with me just from what you just said there was the amount of thoughts we have per day, and how much of them are not very useful. That's a huge amount of thoughts that we use energy for that don't provide any support for us for what we really want to happen. So,
and it's, I mean, they've even there's a famous psychologist called Abraham Maslow. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of him. And
Maslow's theory.
I think he's done like the hierarchy of needs and things like that. But he got really into measuring people's brain waves, and you know, a normal person, when they're in their day-to-day life having this 90 to 120,000 thoughts a day, when you kind of look at the pattern of their brain waves, it's very disjointed, it's all over the place, it's chaotic, it's, you know, the two halves of the brain aren't working together properly. And that's how we live normally, and we believe that's normal, optimum life. And he got really interested in what he called the peak experience, and it was simply anybody living from this experience of now, in the present moment, and being in alignment with themselves. It's something we've all experienced, whether it's you know, people talk about athletes being in the zone, or I'm also an artist, and when I'm drawing and painting and I'm just lost in that moment, you know, we've all experienced that in our own different ways. You know, it's nothing woo-woo or strange. And he measured how people's brainwaves look like, and they were completely coherent. They were a relaxed wave. The two halves of the brain were working together. You know, it's completely different. And I love that we can actually see that now through science. And you know, we kind of have this false belief that that's just something that sometimes just happens to us if we're lucky, you know. But the truth is that we can consciously create that, and we can consciously live from that place. And there's different ways of doing that. For example, I teach meditation, but I think that's just total magic that we can do that. And again, it's not something that's reserved for a special few, you know. These are experiences that we've all had, and we can all step into more in our lives. And that's a very tangible, experiential, embodied thing, which I love.
Yeah, we can all do it. That's a great message. So just any final thoughts that you want to share with people on what has helped you to step in? I mean, you shared a lot already, so there's lots and lots of juicy bits in there. That you think would help people on experiencing more freedom or stepping into freedom. Any final thoughts about that?
So there's two things that pop into my mind there. I was talking earlier about committing to your highest desire. And I would say, you know, if you want more freedom in your life, commit to it. It's kind of that simple. You know, nothing happens without some sort of commitment. And for me, it was when I really made that choice to commit to freedom, to commit to my happiness, and to prioritize that no matter what, that the magic started to happen. And it can be fast. Life can change fast. And that was my experience. And I sometimes have to hit the reset button and recommit to that. But just keep doing it, keep playing with it. And, you know, again, it's going to look different for everyone, but if that's what you want, then go for it, you know. And alongside of that, I would say also innocence is actually really important. You know, we were talking about not necessarily knowing what the next step is in life, but how awesome, you know. And if you can approach that with an attitude of innocence and openness, then it becomes a lot easier. It invites in possibilities that maybe your mind might have been putting in place that it couldn't have before. And you just think about, like recently I was at a bus stop that I go to a lot, and there was a child there, and a bus pulled up, and he just got so excited. He was like, "Mommy, the bus actually stopped at the bus stop." And we were laughing because, you know, of course buses stop at bus stops. There's nothing unusual about that. But to me, it was a reminder that we can be innocent with everything and anything. And when we do, magic happens. Suddenly everything becomes enlivened. We see opportunities that we didn't see before. We meet people we wouldn't have met before. So yeah, innocence and commitment.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, those are great words. So good ending to complete with. Yeah, thank you so much. There was you shared so much in short time. So there'll be lots for people to listen to and to bring into their lives. So I'll post links below for your meditation so people can find out more about that. And also, I'm sure people are interested in what being an Ishaya monk means. Probably questions around that, because we didn't go into that in this particular interview. So if you've got links for that, we'll share them below as well.
Fab.
Yeah, so feel free, everyone. Thank you, Ali.
You're very welcome. And yeah, enjoy. You know, freedom is fantastic, and it's our birthright for all of us. No matter what your life circumstances, I believe that we can all experience it no matter what. So
yeah, freedom and choice.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you. Bye, everyone.